Hi everybody, welcome back to my channel. That's right, a homeschool. I am Mrs. T. Today we are going to be taking a look at the Critical Thinking Company's Mathematical Reasoning Beginning Level 2 book. I'm going to show you what the inside looks like. I'm going to give you my honest feedback, and I'm also going to share with you why I picked up this curriculum and did it meet our expectations? Did we get from it what we were hoping to get from it? So let's go ahead and hop right into it. If you are interested, I did do a review on Beginning Level 1, which is the first book in this series of mathematical reasoning books, and I'll go ahead and link that video down below in case you want to see the inside of that one as well. Alright, so Mathematical Reasoning is a series of books. They are all workbooks, and I believe they are typically all about the same size here, that are focused obviously on math. For ages like toddler range, they recommend starting at about age 3 all the way through, I think they have books now coming out for grades 11. So you do have a big range here. Now I have noticed that a lot of the lower levels tend to be, I'm not gonna say older, but more established part of their curriculum. So it looks like they're starting to get kind of caught up with the higher levels, but because we're not there, that's not really on my radar at this point in time. But let's get into this particular program here, Beginning Level 2. It is recommended for age 4, which is pretty on target with where my preschooler is. It is a spiral approach math program. So in other words, they tend to circle back on the same kind of topics, starting introducing it very lightly and then increasing in difficulty, covering certain topics throughout the entire book, which I found to actually work really well with the child who is using this. They focus primarily on numbers 0 through 15 in this book, but using those numbers as a baseline, they cover a number of standards. And I want to share with you guys now their table of contents page. It goes over the standards and like the actual skills that are covered in this book. So they cover things like numbers and operations, algebra, geometry, measurement, data analysis, and probability. And within those big standards, they cover different skills: addition, subtraction, fractions, logic, and more. Patterns, shape. There's just a lot that is covered. And again, these go through this spiral approach. So you'll notice in this grid that's on the table of contents, for example, your child will be practicing his addition skills. And it's going to be part of that number and operation standard, but they're also doing addition with measurement, geometry, and algebra. So they're practicing these different skills in different ways. It's not just drilling, and it's not just looking at addition problems. All right, now because it is a spiral approach, that means that at the beginning of the book, the problems and the questions are definitely more simple. So I've bookmarked here a couple of examples I want to go over, but I want to give you an example of how they get a little bit more complicated and more complex. So the first page that I have here says count aloud the animals in each picture, and you can see this is really just simple. You have like one turtle here with the number 1 underneath. This is on page 10. It's the very beginning of the program. So you can see it's pretty darn simple and not complicated. Okay, we're going to hop over to the next, I guess, another example. About halfway through the book on page 184, we have cross out animals to make the picture match the numeral below it. So here we go. We have our turtles again. We're not counting now, just counting. We see we have more than 4 turtles, and your child has to cross out the number of turtles to make only 4 appear. But you can see this is a little bit more complicated, right? Sometimes they need to count, sometimes they subitize and they are able to see, all right, this is 5. I know that I don't want 5. 5 is too many. How many do I have to cover? They're working through it, and it's really, really nice. But still using the same very simple pictures, very simple instruction. And then this last one here is to circle the correct numeral in each group. So it's kind of the same deal where you have a set of images that have a number in there, and your child is starting to recognize and able to deduce and count these larger numbers. All right, so the next thing that I think makes this program really unique, the style, is they have a bunch of fun, unique ways of doing, my kid finds them as being games, but they have like different themes. So for example, these are mind benders I want to show you next. These are his favorite. This is where you get a grid that will show two different kinds of images, one on the top and one on the side, and you're getting a couple of clues, and your child has to figure out the clues and answer the problem or the question at the end. So, for example, if we look at this Mindbender page, this is at page 83, so it's about, I don't know, a third of the way through. We have 3 frogs here on the top, and we have 3 sets of moths. And your child is given 2 clues, and they need to figure out the clues to determine which frog had which number of moths, which is really neat. And it's very cool. It's working on their logic skills, and it's a fun way. My kid loves solving puzzles, and that's what this is. This is a puzzle. Now, the other kind of questions that they have in here that he loves, they're sprinkled all throughout the program, are called the Can You Find Me? And the one here I'm going to be sharing is from page 219, so this is the second half of the program. But basically, it is a riddle. You're going to get a picture, which will have a series of people or animals or something like that, and then you're going to get a little riddle at the end, and your child has to find who is giving the riddle, which is really cool, you guys. Working through these riddles with some logic is something that my kid loves. He loves it. So, for example, in the one that I'm sharing here on the screen, it says, if I cut 4, there will still be more. So your child is obviously going to have to think, all right, so if I cut 4, I still have more, so I have to have more than 4 hairs on my head. But only a few, and a few would be 2. So then doing a little bit of subtraction, a little bit of, figuring it out, that means that you're going to have 2 left over, and therefore you've got to be this guy over there at the left. I like his hair. My kid in particular loves when we have silly pictures. So those kind of sprinkled in questions have been really good for my child. And then they have a number of things where I think this program is really strong, is it's not just counting, right? It's not just a book of drilling counting. There is counting, but because it's colorful, because they have pictures, and because they do word problems, my kid really loves it. He really loves this program. I'm going to give one more example of some content that you'll see in this book here. This is called the Smarty Pants puzzle, but basically this is a good example of some of the I'll call them word problems that exist here. So you get a picture. As you move on, the pictures get maybe a little bit more involved, and then you get a series of questions at the bottom that you have to answer. So in this case, you're saying which person rides an animal. So you have to take a look at the people, and you have to deduce who is going to be riding the animal. You have to talk about who's the slowest, who's the faster. It's, again, using logic. Sometimes they add in actual math. How many toys are behind the child? How many, if one of the toys is given away, how many are left? There are so many different ways that they use these, and it's really, really neat. We love it. Okay, so let's talk about why and how I found this program. So I was actually looking for a math program that was grab and go with no manipulatives and no writing. I really wanted to be able to sit down with my child and talk through math so he could hear me start working through my process. I didn't want him to be distracted with writing because we're getting our writing practice in other ways. And yes, we'll be writing math eventually, but I didn't want to focus on that at this beginning point. And then for manipulatives, we have a different math program that has manipulatives. I really wanted this one to be very simple. So I did a little bit of Googling, and I did find this one. And I found that for these early years, both beginning level 1 and level 2, you can really just sit down and do it and work through it. Now, as you saw, there are questions that ask your child to do certain things, like to color or to, the mind bender, writing a Y or an N. And there are ways that you could easily change it so you're not doing it. The subtraction, rather than crossing off, you just cover with your hand, but you could grab like Post-it notes, Scrabble tiles if you wanted the Y and the N. You could we use like little colorful squares, tissue paper squares that we use for arts and crafts. There are so many ways that you can just use different manipulatives to work through the problem and to assist you without requiring your child to write, which is what I was really looking for. And this program has not only met our expectations, it excelled. We absolutely love this program. Now, I did buy it. I'm actually going to put the price right now on the screen. This is the price from Critical Thinking Company, and I will say this covered about half a year. We did do beginning level 1 earlier. So between those 2 books, we got a full actual year, and that's us sitting down and using it most days for about 10 minutes at a time. And I definitely think the cost was worth it. Now, I did buy it from Amazon. I did not buy it on sale because I bought this one once we realized beginning level 1 was working for us. So I actually have already purchased level A, which is coming next. But that one does have more writing, so I have to evaluate how we're going to use it. But using these beginning levels has been amazing. Since using this program, my child has been doing really well with subitizing. I think that's how you pronounce it. Subitizing is this concept of being able to see a number of objects and without counting, being able to recognize how many are there. He's been doing great with that. He also no longer uses his finger to count higher numbers. He's able to look, and he oftentimes will find like 4, let's say like a cluster of 4 items, recognize that that's 4, and then he'll move up to 5, 6, 7, or whatever. So he doesn't often start from 0, unless the image is like pretty random, which is great. Like, I feel like he has really improved. He also has started to pick up a couple of math facts because we are starting to do a lot of practice. And because it spirals back, he does practice the same kind of skills that I think it's starting to click. So the other day, he recognized that like 3 and 4 will always be 7. And that, I don't know, that was just like this really cool thing. Like and then we kind of drilled that a little bit home with our own additional play, but it was just really neat for him to see and for it to click. And I think we're starting to hit like this point in our math journey where he's going to start finding these little patterns, and he's going to start finally like understanding on a deeper level, which is really neat. All right, you guys, that is it. This was kind of a little bit longer than I thought it was going to be. I hope you enjoyed this. Like I said, we are definitely going to be finishing this. We still have about a quarter of the way through left, something like that. And we're going to keep working on it, and we will be moving into level A. And yeah, that's it. So thank you so much, everyone. I am curious to see, did you use this program? What did you think? Comment down below. I'd love to hear more information. And from that, let's go ahead and say bye-bye for our next video. See you later.